I'm Nostradamus, and this is Stone Age News. Welcome to this QAnon special. Only joking, I know you've only come here for the methane. Let's crack on.
Cow farts report.
Well, here we are, looking at methane levels from near the ground up to 300 millibars up in the sky. I've plotted in the latest figures for this week. 1863.4 is the my average, it's showing a drop of 2.9 parts per billion on last week. That's quite a big drop. So I've calculated my 3-week average into the graph, and as you can see, we're now starting to come down after our winter peak. You may notice that the decline in the levels is not as steep as it was 12 months ago. Zooming in on 300 millibars in particular level in the atmosphere, we can see that this week it's dropped by 2.75 parts per billion, but in this week last year it dropped by 3.5 parts per billion. So the gap between this year and last year has grown even more slightly. And we're now at 30.25 parts per billion higher this week than we were this week in 2019. Even more startling is when we look at the higher atmosphere, from 477 up to 151 millibars, where it's the methane concentration still look to have plateaued. There are signs that it may be about to come down a bit. These are my 3-week averages, and the actual figure from the 21st yesterday was 1889.3, which is just 1 part per billion lower than what is plotted here. So we'll see how it goes next week. But this should start to come down, but I don't think it's going to come down very fast. Now I'm going to go back to my projections that I've made for the next 12 months. The green line are last year's methane levels, and these are my 3 projections based upon how much increase we're having at the moment, increased emissions of methane, which is happening. This is only the week 1 from when I made my prediction, so it's very, very early days. But I'm going to start plotting it, and this is today's figure, which is down 0.9. But remember, this time last year the levels were dropping much faster, so this puts us in between 1865.4 and 1864.74 projections. Like I said, it's very early days, but if that holds true and fast for the rest of the year, we're going to be somewhere between the red and the blue. But I'll keep you updated week by week and see where we're at. Right, sticking with methane, I think I've made a major discovery. I'd like to share it with you right now. So we're over on CHOONS, looking at the latest methane emissions in the Arctic surface level today, and we see this plume coming away from the North Alaskan coast. We zoom in. Oh, It doesn't matter. You can see it there. So, I decided to investigate. Now, here we are. I've managed to zoom in so you can pinpoint the area. This is the wind blowing it. So it's coming from around here, which is just west of this sticky out point there. So just try and envision, remember which area of Alaska we're focusing on. So here we are, focusing on the area in question. And as you can see today, it got to almost above freezing, -1. And that was at the end of the night. Compare that to over here. And we're in the -25 range. But here, it's almost got above 0. And this is the area where the methane emissions are coming from on cams. Things start to get really spooky when you look at the air temperature at higher elevations. And this is at 2,000 feet. And we've got above 0 air temperatures. And the plumes of warm air are blowing above dead horse and into the Arctic. Remember, it's -25 in dead horse, but the air temperature 600 meters above it is above 0. Go up a little bit higher and you can see how the plumes rise up into the atmosphere and away from where it's coming from. Zoom out a bit. See how it's originating here? Where cams is showing the methane's coming from. There's plumes above freezing air getting blown into the Arctic. It becomes even more apparent when you take into account the freezing altitude, and that is the height that this warm air, the height it gets to before it cools down to freezing. And it's getting up to 1,600 meters. These are from today. That was early today, and the latest. See which way the wind's blowing, from east to west. This is where it's being emitted from, and then it's just going up and getting blown along by the wind. Here we are on Google Earth. This is somewhere in here where it's all coming up from. There's dead horse. There's the border, so it's in here somewhere. This is on the north slopes, where all the oil exploration's going on, where they're getting ready to do even more raping and pillaging of Mother Earth. Lots of wildlife here as well. Polar wildlife. Have a look at dead horse. Looks like they've already got plenty of pipelines all laid out ready. There's the human settlement. They'll turn the whole area into a polluted shit dump. Here's Anchorage Daily News from 4 days ago. Environmental groups sue Trump administration to stop ConocoPhillips Willow Oil project. Not very long, so I'll read it all out. Conservation groups are suing to halt the Trump administration's approval of a development plan for ConocoPhillips Willow Oil project in the National Petroleum Reserve, Alaska. The lawsuit was filed Tuesday in U.S. District Court in Anchorage. The groups suing include the Alaska Wilderness League, Sovereign Inuit for a Living Arctic, the Northern Alaska Environmental Center, and the Sierra Club. The Bureau of Land Management and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service underestimated the plan's harm to wildlife, including polar bears, the groups argue. The Bureau of Land Management, not to be confused with another certain group, also failed to provide a plan mitigating for harm to Arctic communities and public health, the group said. The Trump administration approved the plan last month, setting the stage for the construction of multiple drill sites, hooray! A processing facility, and gravel roads and pipelines. Conservation groups decreed the proposal as a threat to the Chesapeake Lake Special Area, a wetland complex in the 23 million acre reserve that supports migratory birds and calving grounds for the Chesapeake Lake caribou herd. The project could produce up to 160,000 barrels daily, or 600 million barrels over 30 years, helping offset dwindling oil production and state revenues in Alaska. It won't offset carbon emissions, will it? ConocoPhillips has said first oil could be produced in the mid-2020s. I doubt we'll still be here by then. Anyway, this is Lake Chesapeake on Zoom Earth. Let's zoom in on it. Whoa, look at that. Crazy. I looked at that and I thought it reminded me of a Mandelbrot fractal. So I'll just show you what I mean. This video hasn't got any sound on it. So I'm going to provide my own. Here we go. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Fucking cool. Yeah. Over to the Space Weather Prediction Center from NOAA. When I look at the latest X-ray flux, look at this. I've never seen it do that before. What's that? What's happened to that blue line? That's very strange. Just today. Look at that. But, the sun is waking up. Apparently, there's a couple of large sunspots on the far side, growing in size right now, and we'll see them in a couple of days or so. We might start getting some sizable flare activity by this time next week. I might have something to report on there. In fact, I might do a video about the sun instead of going on about methane all the time. Speaking of methane, I want to thank Zach Labe on Twitter for sharing this nice graphic yesterday. This is from NASA. Monthly mean global land ocean temperature index. And now the temperature has been going up since the beginning of the last century. Let's expand it and have a closer look. As you can see, as we greeny blues is lower than the mean. When are they measuring this from? Oh, the 1951 to 1980 baseline. And we're getting in the pinks. I wonder what colour they'll use next. Red and yellow and pink and green, orange and purple and blue. Oh, they've not used purple yet. I think we'll be seeing a lot of purple in the next El Nino year. Anyway, the reason I wanted to show this is because it also shows you the solar maximum and minimums. And as you will see, the temperature jumped up during the solar maximum. Like here, for instance. There it goes from greeny blues to yellowy orange. And it gets more profound since 1980. See the change there? And here we go from the light orange to the dark orange. And here we go from the light orange to the dark orange again, but much more profoundly. And then in the last solar minimum, we went from the reds and browns into the black and pinks. This ties in with my theory, because I do not believe that the sun's energy alone directly affects the energy balance of the planet. But in fact, when solar activity during a maximum, the sun's heliosphere grows stronger, repelling all the cosmic rays. The cosmic rays, not so many can get in, so not as much methane is destroyed in the atmosphere, so the methane levels stay higher during a solar maximum, and therefore we get higher temperatures. And during this very, very low minimum that we've been going through, methane levels should have been dropping, and yet they've still been rising. I think the problem may be far worse than what we think. And those emissions from northern Alaska, they aren't just little poofs of gas coming up. That's a good sizable amount. That's a great graph, that is. I think, don't you? Before I go, I'd like to say thanks. Thank you to my regular, loyal viewers for following me all this time and putting up with me. Thank you to all my new subscribers. Thanks for joining, and I will try not to upset you. And most of all, I want to give a massive thanks to Sandy from Environmental Coffee House for accepting me into her family. We're all just one big happy family. Terrible times. But I'll see you all next time, if there is a next time. Thank you. Goodbye.